That's how are you? Got guided to really just come on and go freestyle today without an agenda. I do want to share a vision that I keep seeing. I've experienced it myself. I've seen it in sessions this week, but I'm also aware of this happening on a bigger collective scale. It feels like there's aspects of us or places or spaces where we were previously frozen or locked up in ancient timelines or ancient grids or ancestral sediment, like we talked about a few weeks ago. And those energies, our energies are being freed up and opened up. And some of the things you might be feeling is like a little bit of numbness or a little bit of tingling or feeling like you're needing to ground or needing to take a nap. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to come out for everyone, but if you're feeling weird symptoms, obviously take care of yourself however you need to, physically, medically, whatever. But from an energetic perspective, evolutionary perspective, it seems that these aspects of us are thawing out and dropping in and preparing to ground within us and integrate and embody. So what's coming to me is that it may be important to address the physical, or if you're getting weird symptoms that you haven't had before or are uncertain about, definitely take care of yourself because what might be happening is something that was frozen from a long time ago is coming up so that you can move through it and clear it out. My thought process on this is that it was always in our system. It was always there running in the background, but now we're kind of thawing it out and being able to clear it and purify it out of our system. Okay. For whatever reason, it's feeling very physical over these last few days. It's like last weekend, there was quite a bit of emotional things shifting, and now it's moved down into the physical part of integration. So I don't know, just felt guided to share that. So let me know if you guys have been feeling any unusual, different types of symptoms. I'm just curious, and I would like to hear from you as always. All right, let's just see, what does the universe have for us? Let's see what's coming through. So the card that came out was renewal. And I do feel like another one wants to come with it. And listen. Okay. Beautiful. So to me, given the messages I began with at the beginning of this video, even if it feels like things are coming up and we have to address them physically to detox, to purify, to boost our nutrition, to exercise, to emotionally purge, whatever it is about bringing about an energetic renewal. And it's retrieving those parts of yourself so you have more of your complete soul essence available. And what's coming through that I've been working with myself is a deeper layer of dissociation or shock that was in the system. And I've been working through it and with it all the way back to the core wound. And what my higher self has been telling me as I've been listening is that it's the core shock. So if you are potentially experiencing any of these emotional or physical symptoms, know that they may be stemming all the way back to the beginning of that original wound. So what's coming to me is for you, obviously, as you're going through this renewal, to listen and trust yourself above all else. But I want to give a couple supportive thoughts for you to tune in with as you go through this process. So, as these things open up in our system, I've noticed a pattern within myself is that it can feel intense. And like the old me before, maybe I understood all of this, I would think, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? What am I going to do? What do I got to do? What's wrong? What's wrong? Now I'm like, okay, I know I'm aware that this is opening up in my system. This is like some ancient energies. So it's probably going to be intense. But I also know if I give it space and grace for like a day or two, it settles out, it calms down, it like the dust settles, right? And I found within that space where it can feel a little cloudy or confusing, I ask for the truth, I ask for clarity, and I literally, like, we take care of ourselves in the best way that we can, in whatever way we need to. Okay. So you do your best to stay calm and support yourself as best as you can, knowing and understanding that within the next day or two, it should settle out, like the stuff that needed to be cleared. And then you can really start to hone in on and integrate the energy, your true energy, back into the places and spaces. When it feels a little bit of confusion or cloudiness, that is where you can have this awareness to say, okay, this is a deeper pocket for me to bring my essence and energy back into these places. What they're showing me as a vision of, imagine like your body or your energy is like an old mansion. Okay. Just roll with me. Right. And in those mansions, there's all those little secret rooms and secret hiding places. And so this is like finding one of those secret hiding places in a mansion behind the bookcase, like the bookcase moves and there's a whole other room that no one even knew was in there. And you go in and there's all these treasures, but everything is kind of dusty and cloudy or dark, right? But you go in and you start to clean off the dust and then you find all these like treasures underneath. That is what it is like when we're opening up these energies planetarily and within ourselves, because whatever is happening on the planet, right, is happening to all of us because this is our home. And for those of you who are energetically sensitive or aware of these processes, when we're not avoiding or shutting it down, people like us have a tendency to experience it stronger because we're in a place where we can handle that awareness. Okay. And so just kind of going into it with that awareness and then listening and trusting your inner knowing, holding that energy of renewing yourself regardless of what's coming up, and listening to exactly what your body, emotions, and spirit is telling you. And the reason this is so important, it's such an important piece of the the overall picture. Definitely get your supports, okay, however you need to do it. But it's so imperative that you are a seat at that table, at that council for yourself as an advocate, because there's different layers and levels that are happening multidimensionally that other people may not be able to be aware of that are happening with you. And I'm not saying there's not anyone, because it's some of the work that I do, but there's also like a difference that no matter how much abilities someone else has, there's going to be a piece in a pocket that is solely yours because it's you. And so you can get your supports, but ultimately your strongest tool is learning to listen to yourself and building that trust with yourself. And I want to say that I know sometimes this can be disconcerting, or we might question ourselves because we're being called to listen and move into places and spaces that no one else is. There might not be anything to Google. There might not be a video to watch on what you're asking. There might not be anything to listen for in the physical world externally. You may only truly be able to find the answers by listening internally to yourself and your higher connection. Okay. that I've gone through that. And in a sense, it's a big part of why I'm here with you guys, because it's like we have to learn how to create and be our own book, our own library, our own Google, our own encyclopedia, right? So that's really coming through, especially as we're expanding and evolving at these next levels, because I believe there is a group of us on the precipice of really truly moving into things that have never been done or experienced on this planet. So there's not a reference point for us. And this is why this internal trust point is so important. And I actually had a conversation with a friend last night, even around these divine counterpart, twin flame connections, where sometimes you hit those pockets where, like, I'll talk about the collectives working together, and we feel that, like, I know as a feminine, I take clues off the masculines around me or experiences with masculines, whether they're aware of it or not. I know that they're assisting me on my path. And so that is how part of how I discern and understand the messages from what I'm experiencing and listening to and trusting by what I'm experiencing on the different levels in the world around me. Okay. So I might get something in the higher levels energetically, and then I see how I start to see manifestations of that in the physical world. And it's not that I don't trust the higher energies. Of course I do. You know, that's why I'm here. But I also feel that the physical manifested syncs and confirmations with that are important, not necessary, so to speak, but they are important affirmations to support us in knowing and trusting ourselves. But also, they're giving us clues in the direction that we're being guided. And I think that it's important to stay in a neutral space around these things each day, okay? In the sense that we might know a little bit of the trajectory, but the truth is we're evolving and expanding and evolving, I believe, in a much faster rate than was originally thought possible. So I think that there is a tremendous amount more occurring a lot faster than the powers that be thought would happen for some of us. And so you might also find, I think this is another important message to share with you that I got in a download yesterday, is that sometimes if things start to feel stagnant or stuck, no matter what you're doing, you're asking for the truth, you're asking for clarity, you're open to whatever is for you, you're surrendered at the highest and deepest levels, and like nothing is still happening. What is happening actually is that you're kind of at one of those collective checkpoints, and you're waiting for more of the people collectively to catch up, because we're all pieces of that puzzle. And so I think it's kind of like we're all intending to meet at these, or the groups of us that are working at these levels are intending to meet at these checkpoints. And as some of us were arriving at different times. Okay. But then you might find, like, all of a sudden, whoosh, there's a big amount of movement, and all of a sudden things that were kind of stagnant for you are moving very quickly. And also you'll find that a lot of people around you are also moving in similar fashion. Okay. It's coming to me to share with you that there was something like this that happened actually. I want you to think back, or if this resonates, around the beginning to the middle of August, there was some form of almost like a postponement in the energies. And what I've been sensing is that over this past week, whatever got postponed back then just got set in motion in to move forward over this past week or so. Okay. So I would love to hear if that resonates with any of you. And I do feel like this was a collective process. And I believe like what was happening is we were actually getting stronger and more stable within that pocket. I think that we could have potentially moved at that time, but as a collective, we chose to drop in and get even stronger so that when we got to this point, um, things were a lot more stable for the overall collective, okay, for the whole planet, for ourselves. So that feels good and right to me. I would love to hear from you around that, how you feel. I want to see, is there anything else that we're going to go into with this? Yesterday, for those of you who might not have watched, I did an overall masculine and feminine ascension reading check-in, and I've started to use, I have my light seers deck, but I have this mini one that I have, so I've been reading these as the masculine and the feminine together. And there was some deep mirroring yesterday. In fact, they got the same card in the same position, Six of Cups. So I want to see where we're landing today. If there's any more that wants to come through with this Six of Cups energy, or yes, the Six of Cups to me is like that maturing, nostalgic energy, but it also, so it's like the nostalgia for the past and processing the past, but also maturing as we're evolving. And there was a message I'm recalling right now that came through around breadcrumbs. And the breadcrumb scenario was twofold. It was around releasing the energy of feeling breadcrumbed and not really provided with the meal that we deserve or the things that we deserve, so to speak, right? Like the whole dinner instead of just the breadcrumbs, but also actually, and the other note of actually having those clues and the breadcrumbs being um there for us on our path to guide us. Okay, so this is an example of the different connotations and meanings of the energies that are coming forward. So that's bringing to me that awareness of you looking at the messages that you're listening for or that are coming in, that you're seeing in the physical world, and how they link up with the messages you're hearing or receiving in the higher levels, because they may look a little bit different like that, but they can all have levels of truth to them. Okay. I hope that makes sense. But let's check in. Let's see if the masculines would like to share anything. Okay. With the masculines, we got the World card and the Ace of Wands. This to me feels like the masculines are landing in a new territory. We've been somewhat touching on this in the last masculine reading last week. But when I saw this being landing in, this grid, it felt like what I was saying to you with my initial vision at the beginning of this video, that aspects of us are beginning to ground into the earth. And with this Ace of Wands, it feels like there's a deeper ignition happening within the masculines, like a type of awakening, a thawing, as those energies of dissociation and the soul shock are starting to thaw. Okay. I feel like I do want to get another one with that. Oh, okay. The Queen of Swords came out. So it feels like as we're asking for more and more truth, especially right now, the feminines in particular. And I'm saying that for some reason only because I feel like the masculines are silent right now. They're coming across as very silent, very hermited, very internal. But the feminines have been speaking and asking for the truth and being willing to cut away anything that isn't the truth, allowing the smoke and the mirrors to dissipate, the feminines have just been in this place like, look at, it doesn't matter to me what the truth is. I just need the truth because then I know how to move. And because of this, it is what I'm sensing is it's sparking something awake within the masculines. It's also doing this within the feminines, of course, but the masculines are acknowledging that this process of speaking truth, asking for truth, embodying truth as much as possible is allowing the truth to activate deeper within their consciousness. Not that it wasn't, not that it wasn't present. It was there, but just like how it's thawing back to that core soul shock, it's like the shock, it's helping everyone. This request for the truth and the truth only is allowing the shock to dissolve. It's allowing us to get deeper into where that original wound was so that we can actually deal with the source of the infection, so to speak, physically, emotionally, spiritually, collectively, where the splits are, where things are in the past have been ununited. Asking for the truth is allowing us to come more into the union energies on all the levels. Okay. It's holding that space. So it's allowing the parts that were dissociated to thaw. And as we as a collective thaw and come back into true association with ourselves individually, but as we're working individually, it really, no matter where we're at on this journey, anybody who's thawing any aspect of themselves and thawing any form of dissociation or shock are literally helping this whole process on a very deep level because each one of us that does it is supporting the collective clearing of the smoke and mirrors. And so it just takes just a little, right? But I know there's a lot of you who are doing a lot, which is amazing. So just everybody do what you're doing and what you're guided to do. But when we're aligning and asking for truth for ourselves, they're showing me right now this is having a much bigger effect on the collective. And I feel like the masculines came through with this message not only for themselves internally and what they're experiencing, but they're holding that pocket deep in the physicality of the world. And so as they're able to embody more and more in the 3D into their lower chakras, that's holding space for the whole planetary collective to be able to be more present and embodied. This is where I'm seeing the masculines with their feet on the ground in their own essence being able to embody in a deeper way. Yes, they were working in the physical world, but they didn't have access to all of their power or all of who they are. And through this asking for the truth and this thawing that's happening, it's allowing all of us to get more access to our true power and essence. Wow. Wow. Whether you're masculine or feminine, you obviously take these messages as we align deeper with the truth. Ask for the truth. When we're willing to look at the truth and no longer dissociate and deny the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, it's actually allowing us to get to the core of the truth so that the true core wound healing can happen. And what I'm seeing is as each one of us that's working on this collective, I see it working within our own personal core soul wound is healing. But I just saw this vision of the collective wound. And I just saw so many people like adding their own salve to the wound. And it's helping to heal the earth too, the planet. Wow. Okay, it's like I saw like Mother Earth's core wound where she descended into the fall for us and with us, and her wounds are healing as we're healing, and vice versa. Okay, wow. Thank you, Divine Masculines, for that gorgeous message. Now, I'm going to check in and see what the feminines would like to show us through this process. I do these earlier, but I like to do a little bit with them. The feminines are moving into the new beginning on behalf of the collective. And as that is happening, and she's releasing what was to let herself move fully into the new, it's, another part of what's allowing the masculines to move into their next expanded levels and layers. Okay. No, yep. What else would the feminines like us to know? Something in what the masculines have been doing to move forward has equally allowed the feminines to move forward into her next steps. So again, we can see where the feminines asking for her full truth is allowing the masculines to ignite internally. Give me a moment. I want to see what the masculines have been doing that's helping the feminines. As he's taking steps in the physical world, it's allowing the feminines. There's something about this crystal and this cup. They're like mirrored in a way. And the cups are emotion. So it feels like as the masculines are thawing their emotions and allowing themselves to go through that emotional process, even just within themselves, it's not like a racing forward movement. It's actually a stable thawing. This stable thawing is allowing the feminines to trust and move forward into the new. So thank you, masculines. This is what I mean by when I say, like, regardless, like, we're literally working together collectively. Each rung, whichever step we're on, it's like we're catching each other's backs. Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, as long as we can keep our eye on the truth, on that bigger picture, right? Like ultimately, like letting go of the old stories and just moving forward on the steps that we're meant to take and we're being guided to take without attachment and without judgment, but just truly taking that responsibility for our own guidance. This morning, I created a post on Facebook, and I said, I want for you. I said, I want for you whatever your soul wants for you. And I feel like if we can drop into that with everyone and everything, and just holding that energy of like not projecting what we think anyone else should be doing in any way, shape, or form, and simply just dropping into, I want for you what your soul wants for you. That's like truly dropping into unconditional love for yourself and for another, not projecting what it should be. We don't know. I'll tell you what, I went through some of the darkest dark night of the soul stuff, and that probably wouldn't have necessarily have been what people who love me would have wanted to see me go through. But it was imperative, and my soul needed it, and I needed it to become more of the woman that I intended to be. But maybe other people wouldn't have wanted that for me, right? They would think like, oh, she's going through a hard time. But this is where we tap into just truly allowing the soul to take over for the being, for the person. and simply just aligning and standing in the energy and the essence of just simply wanting for that person whatever their soul wants for them. And it's so incredibly freeing and expansive to really just let yourself feel into that and feel how supportive it is even for you and your own system. All right, loves, beautiful work. I love you. I hope you enjoyed this message, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.